Hello friends, welcome into my craft room. I'm Heidi with Heidi Samble DIY. Today's episode we are going to be talking about those carrots from the Dollar Tree. We're going to be making about 17 different projects using all kinds of different cool items that the Dollar Tree carries to make carrot crafts. Now come along and let's make something beautiful for our homes. These are our supplies we're going to be starting with. This candy bowl from the kitchen section at the Dollar Tree. These new carrots that are fabric and plush. This little garden tag, some moss, as well as some ribbon, and the little foam carrots that are wrapped in twine, all from the Dollar Tree. Start by taking off your tag. Take your candy dish outside. I spray painted mine white. Spray paint yours whatever color you want. And then I'm going to glue together my 3 carrots. I'm just adding hot glue right between them, and I'm making them all different heights because we're going to stick this down into our candy dish to make a cute table topping decor piece. I'm adding on some glue, wrapping around this lace and burlap ribbon that I get from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to add little dots of glue to hold it in place so that it has a beautiful band around this container. Cut off the extra, glue the last bit down. I'm going to add another ribbon to this in just a minute, but first we're going to move on to the inside of the container. Now that my carrots are dried and glued together, I'm going to come inside of this bowl and I'm going to add some glue and some Spanish moss. I'm going all around the edges so it fills in that edge. And then the center is going to be this big, giant carrot piece. We don't want it to be too long, so I'm going to cut off some of the bottom, add lots of glue, and stick that down in there. Be careful with this part because as you're wiggling it into the Spanish moss, it is kind of easy to burn yourself, so you don't want to do that. Once that is in place, glued down nicely, I'm now going to come in with these smaller foam carrots that are wrapped in twine. I love these carrots, and there's so many different ways to use them. So we're going to make this into a darling carrot planter. I'm going to just take all of these different carrots. I'm going to glue them in, wiggle them in all around to make it look like all these heights of carrots. Has so much interest, so much texture, such an easy project to make. This only took me maybe about 10 minutes. The most was just spray painting the container and waiting for that to dry. Now around that burlap bow, I'm going to add on this green gingham bow that I also got from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to get the right length that I want for my bow, cut off the tails shorter, and then I'm going to add on 2 green buttons, one darker green button and one lighter green button, and this is going to add a little bit of interest to the front of the container. When it's all said and done, it is just so adorable, was so quick to make, and a ton of fun. For this DIY, I'm going to be using this beautiful Happy Easter Cottontails Farm Fresh egg sign. I'm going to be using some ribbon, this large 18-inch wreath form, and then a whole bunch of different florals. Most everything is from the Dollar Tree except for the really large peonies. I got that at the end of a Christmas sale. They have a little bit of frost to it on the floral, but you don't really even notice it when you bring it all together, and I got a killer deal for them, so we're going to use those 2 on this project. We're going to start by taking this burlap lace ribbon that you can get from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to just simply wrap it all the way around the whole wreath form. I like doing this because it makes it so much easier gluing your florals on because you're not going to struggle with these holes and them falling through or having to zip tie anything. So I'm just going to coil that all the way around. It's not going to be able to reach all the way perfectly around. It gets real close, but we're going to cover that up with a bunch of stuff so you won't even notice it. Now I'm going to take my sign and I'm going to put the zip ties on the bottom side of the sign, and I'm going to zip that right onto that wreath form, and I am going to just make sure I get both of them in place before I zip tie one side too tight, because then it makes it hard to get the other one on. So just get it in place and then start to pull it tighter and then snip. And I push those little square pieces back down underneath so you don't have to see those. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a bow. Now you can see this is the easiest way to make a very big loopy bow. I'm zigzagging back and forth 4 times. I make sure that there's a tail on each end going the opposite direction. And then I take it and I'm gonna just gather it right in the middle and tie it around in a knot. That's it. There are so many people who use all these different tools to make bows, and you really could do that if you want to, but this works the same. I'm not kidding. Like, you're going to see in the end, I'm going to have this beautiful bow on here, and it was just me zigzagging back and forth with some ribbon. So if you're not great at tying ribbons, give this a try. Like, this is a really easy one to do. And then I'm going to just pull a zip tie through it, and I'm going to put that around my form itself, and I'm going to use that to be able to zip tie on there so that I don't have to worry about hot gluing it on and making a mess with all that hot glue. And I'm just going to get it in position and then tighten it. Isn't that just the easiest bow ever? So once you've got your bow on, go ahead and fluff it out, and look, all we did was zigzag back and forth and tie a knot. Isn't that just the easiest bow ever? And if you want to make more loops, you just, you know, keep zigzagging, or you can double up bows. That works as well. Now I'm really slowing down this wreath process because sometimes I go a little fast with these, and I know that there's a lot of beginning crafters who are looking for some spring inspiration. So I'm going to show you at this point how I build my florals. I get a lot of questions how I come up with my color combos. I really wanted to bring out all of those beautiful spring colors, especially on a front door. I just think that's a place where you really could put a lot of color. So I'm doing a softer peony pink flower. Then I'm coming in with a darker pink peony flower, almost like salmon pink color. And now I'm coming in with some tiny little daisies. I think that these are so beautiful. They bring in that yellow and that white. And at this point now I want to definitely bring in some more yellow. So I've got these smaller flowers. I think this is supposed to try to be like a ranunculus. Honestly, I think like the way that it looks, I think that's what they were going for at the Dollar Tree. And now I'm going to come in with some of this Salvia delphinium. I'm not sure what this flower exactly is supposed to be, but it has that same long look to it. So I'm going to just glue in a couple of those. And now to bring in a little more pop of color, and since there's a bunny on this, I thought it would be so pretty to work in some really bright orange carrots. And then I'm going to come in with some ferns and some of these little mini roses. Friends, I wanted to show you in this video how much fun it is to layer and layer and layer. And that's what makes a gorgeous wreath. When you see wreaths at stores that cost like $200 or something crazy like that, it's because they're super layered and have all these different colors and florals. And you can get that look with things from the Dollar Tree. So on those ribbons, I came around the backside and I just kind of zigzagged that ribbon down, longer on one side, shorter on the other. And now I'm going to do that same loopy technique that I did earlier for my ribbon. And I'm going to do that with some orange gingham ribbon. Now I'm going to come in with a button because I just love buttons. I mean, have I not been doing that in quite a few videos lately? You can skip over the button if it's not your thing. But I'm going to add on a button, and then I'm going to add on a little bit of twine right in the middle of that. And all of these together they make me so happy. I hope you give these techniques a try. I really do. On the backside, don't forget to add on your rope. And I always like to unfray the edges just a little bit to give it some more of that locked in security. And then to clean it up, I like to take some fabric, glue it over the top of it, and then I just trim around it to make it look really clean and high-end finished. This project is going to be so fast, so cute, and have such fun color to it. We're going to be using this wood round, this bunny hang-up sign, and then a craft stick dowel. Go ahead and take your bunny apart from that twine that was on the back of it and remove all those staples. Once you get those all removed, go ahead and take a drill a little bit of a bigger hole where that hole already existed from that twine, and then just put that craft wood stick right down in there. That's honestly the most complicated thing about this project. We're not going to be using any other power tools. It just needed for that one thing. Now we're going to go ahead and glue on our bunny at the top of the stick, but we're going to bring back in this really cute hippity hoppity on it as well. So go ahead and glue those on. Use some fabric to help lock it into place and clean up the backside. I added a little bit of hot glue at the bottom of that wood base, and then I put on some of my Spanish moss. And now I'm just simply taking some of those Dollar Tree carrots that I just love this season. They're so much fun to work with. I'm cutting off the tip so that they're 3 different heights, and I'm just kind of twisting them down in there when I get some hot glue in that spot, and you've got yourself an adorable decor piece. I'm going to be using one of these wood plaque signs. The staples on the back, whew, this was really stapled on. I had to pull pretty hard, so you could just cut it off with scissors if it's giving you a hard time too. I flipped it over, removed the twine, flipped it back over, and then I cut down a piece of white burlap. I get a lot of people asking where I get my white burlap. I picked mine up from Joann's. I always go back to the back of their store. It's usually back by all the upholstery fabric and stuff, because a lot of people use this for upholstery. So I picked up some of that, glued it on, tacked in some push pins from the Dollar Tree, and you can see here that I lined up tongue depressor sticks, and I'm going to use a Sharpie marker, and I'm going to just simply make a line coming in at the end so we can make the shape of a carrot. Now I'm going to use some dull scissors. Don't use your good scissors on this part, and I'm going to cut right on those lines. And then make sure you do not see that black Sharpie marker. I just flipped my popsicle sticks over so that you don't see that part. And I glued them down. Once you've got those glued down, take some orange paint and some water, mix those together so it becomes more of an orange stain, and then paint your carrot. And now I'm adding some greenery up at the top and a beautiful blue bow. I love this ribbon. I'll link it. I picked it up on Amazon. I'll link it in my description box below. And then I'm going to add a gingham ribbon that's blue from the Dollar Tree. And after this point, I wanted to make that white burlap stand out a little bit more. You could skip this part, but I really felt like doing a wood stain, which is basically just water brown paint. And I'm just going to go over that so it soaks into the wood to make it a little bit darker, and that the burlap will pop out and shine more. Our supplies to make the carrot cake are 2 different size containers from the Dollar Tree, some carrots, some caulk, and some spackle. You're going to need to take your smaller container and you're going to put some hot glue all the way around that rim and then glue it to the bottom of your larger container. Make sure that they're centered before the hot glue dries and it locks into place, because I almost had it happen to me. So make sure you shift it around and get it into place. And then we're going to remove the lid off of our spackle and use a silicone spatula to apply it to the container. Now, funny enough, this just worked out really great that the glitter on this container actually allowed the spackle to stick on there even better. It had something to hold on to. So it wasn't such a terrible thing that that was on there. But we're going to go ahead and just continue to smooth it out all over it. And just keep playing with it until you get the texture that you would like it to look like, so it represents and resembles frosting. Once you've gone all the way around the bottom one, come up to the top and continue to just work around that smaller upper layer of your cake. Now we're going to take some water and smooth out any spaces that might need some smoothing where it looks a little too rough. I just like to just dip my finger into a cup of water next to me, and I just keep playing with it until I get that consistency of frosting. Now at the very top, I decided to shift some of the spackle so that I can make sure that the carrot bonds well to the container, and that way it really locks in there and stays on without falling off. At this point, you can see the rims of our little cake we're making. They look a little raw, they look a little rough. So we are going to now take the caulk, and I'm just going in a swirling, simple motion to create this frosted edge. So we're now going to do a really simple stroke with our caulk to create more frosting. You're going to push it out so it balls up into a clump and then drag before you release the pressure. That is going to create a really beautiful motion in the frosting and make it look like a real cake. So I'm just building up all the frosting around those two top layers and then around the base. You can see that I pulled out parchment paper because we want to make sure that that caulk is going to dry without getting stuck to something. So once you've gone all the way around, everything is dry. I honestly just let it dry overnight, so I didn't have any issues with it. You then can come in with some white paint and just simply paint the entire thing white. This is going to make sure that you're locking everything in. It looks really good, and at this point it really does look like frosting. Now we're going to pull out some flax seeds and some Mod Podge, and we are going to create that nutty look on the side of a carrot cake. I like to just pour my Mod Podge into my lid cap, and then I'm going to only focus on the sides of the cake, not where we put the caulk. Okay, here's a fun fact, friends. I know that eggs are super expensive right now. Did you know that flax seeds are a substitute for eggs? You add some water to it and it gets the same consistency as an egg. So look it up online. I'm actually borderline vegan. I'm 100% vegetarian, but borderline vegan. And so flax seeds is a substitute that I use when I bake. So look it up if you're having a hard time finding eggs. I thought it was funny to kind of mention it. So you can see that I went all the way around the cake on the top layer and the bottom layer. And now I'm putting in that hot glue and I'm just nestling that carrot down in there. And now at this point, I've decided to make sure that flaxseed's really bonded on there well and it doesn't rub off over time. I'm going to come in with one more layer of Mod Podge and I'm going to put one more layer of that flaxseed on there. This is going to create a double layer, really locking it in and making it look high quality, and it's going to trick a lot of people when they first see it, thinking that this is a real mini cake. Now at this point, once I've gone all the way around, doubled up that flaxseed on there, you're going to want to just let it dry, let it do its thing, and set it to the side. But before I walk away from the project, you want to make sure that the caulk that you did around it to make it look like that frosting detail, you want to make sure you just clean it up some. So we're going to just take a wipey, wipe off anywhere where the flaxseed or the Mod Podge might have accidentally gotten on it, and then come back in with the white paintbrush and just clean it up a little bit. This is going to make it look really finished and polished. I love a good finished project because this is when it really starts to come to life. Also, I wanted to share that when I'm done, I always like to wipe out the lid, making sure that there's nothing in there. And it also keeps your Mod Podge from getting too goopy where you can't close it and open it very easily. And then just screw that on. And here is the finished look of our carrot cake. I'm going to be using this $5 plus item from the Dollar Tree. This is so awesome because I was actually getting ready to DIY something and then I found this one, 2 of the packs of the carrots and then some burlap. We are going to take off that carrot on the front and put it to the side because we can use it for a DIY on another day. And then this bow, oddly enough, this thing was stapled on and ready for a war to break out. I mean, this thing was so sturdy on here that I couldn't pull it off, so I actually just had to cut it off. And then we're going to take some burlap. I always like to double up my burlap so you don't see through it. And we are going to glue around 3 of the sides and lay it down to create a pocket on the front of the bunny. Now, a couple years back, there were a couple of different home decor stores that had this exact look, where the bunny has a little pocket on the front of it and it's got some carrots and some cute things in it. And those decor online shops were charging a ton of money. We're talking over $100 for that front door decor piece, which is crazy. And we're gonna make ours for right around $10 and save ourselves a ton of money. So once you've got your pocket glued on, and make sure you leave enough room to be able to actually tuck the carrots in. You don't wanna glue it down where it's super flat. You're gonna just come in with your carrots, stack them in there where you want them to be. And then on the front, where that little flat part is to help the bunny stand up, I glued 3 carrots there as well. Now I want to beef up that greenery a little bit because I think it just makes it look more fuller, high end. That's really when things start to go from being a Dollar Tree product to looking more high end when you fill it in, make it look fuller. And then where that bow was we cut off earlier, I'm going to come in with a beautiful big tan bow, and this was from the Dollar Tree as well, this ribbon, as well as a lacy bow, which is also from the Dollar Tree. And then to add a little extra personality, we're going to put a green button, which I picked these buttons up at their front checkout area. They always have little buttons up there. I love using buttons in my crafting. Leave a comment down below to let me know if you like using buttons like I do, because I put them on a lot of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that button into place. And then what would this cute little bunny be without a little farm sign of some kind to say how much his carrots are that he's willing to sell to you at his little farmer's market stand? So we're going to just add a little 25-cent tag, and I get these little tags in their floral section and sometimes their garden section around springtime. You get, I think, 4 or 5 of them in a pack for $1.25. So I just went ahead and painted that on there, 25 cents for his carrots, and we're going to sneak that down inside, and we saved ourselves at least $90 DIYing it ourselves. Head to your local Dollar Tree and pick up some foil, or if you have it in your kitchen, that works too. Grab some ribbon that are orange colored for carrots, some greenery, some painter's tape, and then some ribbon that you're going to use to tie for bows at the end. I took my foil out and I pulled about 4 or 5 times so I can get a nice loose ball of foil. This part does not have to be perfect. You can see how rough I'm being with it. And once you've got enough, go ahead and rip the foil. And we're going to start to smash that down into the shape of a carrot. Now, I heard you all loud and clear, and this is the reason why I came up with this idea. Some of you were telling me that you can't find carrots at the Dollar Tree. And this you can find. Everyone has foil at their Dollar Trees because this is something that is carried all the time. You probably even have it in your own kitchen right now. So go ahead and smash that foil down into the shape of a carrot, and you can make these however big or small you want to make them depending on how much foil you're using. You can see here at the end, I'm going to just go ahead and use the table to smush it around, to smooth it all out. And once you've got everything nice and compacted, you're going to go ahead and take some painter's tape, and we're going to just go over that whole thing. This is going to lock everything in, and it's going to allow you to be able to work with the ribbon even easier so it can glue to the painter's tape and not have any issues with it not sticking. So once you've got everything all smushed down, you're going to have, if you're using the box from the Dollar Tree, 4 large carrots and 1 smaller carrot. So it just, again, depends on what size carrots you want to make. You can make a whole bunch of little carrots. It's all up to you and what you want. So now we're going to take our ribbon and we're going to start coiling it on, starting at the end of the carrot, the pointy part. And you can see right here, I'm doing a fold back, because what happens with ribbon when you're going up something that's thinner versus thicker at the end, the ribbon is not going to want to keep laying flat like you want it to. So I've learned this trick over the years of crafting with ribbon, that when you're coiling something up that gets thicker towards the end, you're going to want to put little dots of glue as you're going along, and then when you get to a point where you see that the ribbon is not aligning the way you want it to, you're going to take that ribbon and you're just going to fold it over, and that's going to allow you to be able to continue rolling all the way up that object you're trying to get your ribbon on without there being any weird gaps and the ribbon's looking really messy. And I just keep doing this. I'll fold forward or I'll fold backwards as I'm going up the carrot with the ribbon. So once you get all the way up to the top and you've made it nice and tight on your carrot, you're going to go ahead and take your scissors, cut off where you want it to be, and then at the very end, we're going to just put a little bit more glue and we're going to wrap it around about 2 or 3 times up at the top and then glue that in place. Now the reason why we're going to have this extra part up here at the top, because now we're going to put some glue down in there and sneak in some of that greenery that I cut up from a pick from the Dollar Tree, and then we're just going to smash it all down. And at this point we're going to take some yarn that's orange and we're going to just wrap around and around and around until we get it nice and tight and you get it to the look that you want. You could use twine for this too, that could be really cute too. And then we're going to just tie a double knot and cut off that yarn that is too long. And then just add some bows and you've got yourself the cutest decor piece. And even cuter is if you put it on a tray with a wreath and a bunny inside the wreath, and then the carrots spread all over that tray. What a cute spring decor piece. This next project is so fast and so fun, don't blink. We are going to take 2 of these ball holders that you use for soccer. They're orange, a perfect carrot color, and then some fern and some long grass foliage from the Dollar Tree. Now I will say, I saw this pinned on Pinterest, but the link was a dead link where I couldn't actually get to the person who came up with this originally. I wish I could have, because I want to give credit to those who deserve to get credit for the ideas. But I wanted to share it on here. If I can find it later on down the road, I will make sure I link it in my description box. I'm pretty sure it was a TikTok person. Someone just took a picture, like a screenshot of it, and they didn't have the account name. It was such a bummer. But anyway, so you can see here, I'm just beefing up the fern and I'm just adding in some extra green because I just think it looks nice and full and pretty. And then I'm going to wrap some twine around it to help strengthen it. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and tie a knot, make sure it's all on there nice and snug. And I will say that I decided to beef up mine a little bit more than what I saw the inspiration, because I liked it to be fuller. Now you're going to take the ball holders, the cones, you're going to snug that down into your dirt or your mulch, and then simply tuck in the greenery in that hole. And it makes a giant carrot. Is this not the cutest thing ever for your front yard? This project is so high-end on a Dollar Tree budget. I am so giddy to share it with all of you. I found this gorgeous carrot patch sign at the Dollar Tree. We're going to be using some Spanish moss, 2 crates, 2 packs of carrots, a large craft stick, and then I don't show it yet, but you'll see it eventually, 2 round half wooden beads. Take the craft stick and cut that in half. And then let's move on to our crates. We're going to glue those 2 pieces together, take our craft stick, glue that down into the box as well as the second one. This is what we're going to be mounting our sign onto so it can stand upright and create a darling farmer's market sign with our carrots. You can see here that that is now glued on, and I'm going to just make sure I've got everything all nice and straight before I glue it down. Add your glue to the craft sticks and then mount your sign on it. This is going to make sure you have a nice clean look on the back side of your sign. Hold it in place for a little bit, making sure that it's all locked in and nice and strong. And then we're going to move on to the crates. I'm going to take one of these foam blocks from the Dollar Tree. I keep a steak knife in my craft room. I find it is the best thing to work with when you're cutting these foam blocks. I cut the block in half, and then that half piece I cut it in half again. So now I have 2 of these 1/4 pieces. I'm going to glue those down into my crates, 1 in each crate, using lots of glue. I find that foam with wood glue really well together. Foam with terracotta or glass, I always recommend E6000. So hot glue will work really well for this part. Now we're going to bring in that Spanish moss to conceal the foam because we don't want to see that part. That's not as whimsical and fun. We're going to cover that up with some Spanish moss. Be careful not to burn your fingers. I like to go around the edge of my foam so that way I leave the room in the middle, not struggling getting my carrots down into the foam. I'll show you that in just a second, but you can see I went around the edge of the foam block, not throughout the middle of the foam block, and that's going to hold the moss in there nicely. Tuck it down in the sides so that you don't see the foam through the side holes of the crates. Now I'm going to take my painter's brush and I'm going to just stick that down in there to create a hole for my carrots. You don't have to use a painter's brush. You can use anything that's big enough to get that down in there to get the size that you need for the carrots. This is going to keep you from having to cut the carrots down. This is an easy way to do it. I'm just going to punch those holes down in there, and this is why I didn't put the glue on the middle part of the foam when I was putting in the Spanish moss. It's going to let it get in there nice and easy. So I'm just creating those holes. I'm adding that glue onto the carrots. Isn't this the easiest project? And it has such a high-end look. This is definitely something that you would see at a very high-end boutique store, and they would charge so much for this. And I think the total cost to make it, let me just think here. We've got the foam, we've got the Spanish moss, we've got the 2 crates, 2 bags of carrots, and the sign. So everything all together to make this is maybe at the most $8. And honestly, you know, the Spanish moss, you're only using a small amount of it. There's leftover foam. Friends, we could probably get away with making this for, I would say, like $6.50. This is just the cutest, easiest project, and it has such a high-end look. Now that I've got all my carrots in there, and you can see I didn't go into the foam for every single carrot, where I have that spacing, that extra space in there between the foam and the crate, I stuck some carrots in between that area too. I filled in all of those carrots from my 2 carrot packs that I purchased, and then up at the top to clean up those holes, I never like leaving those unfinished. I'm going to just add these half wood beads up at the top to conceal those holes, and it gives it a farmhouse look. It looks really nice. And then we are going to add in a ribbon next around the crates. This is going to clean up the line where those 2 boxes are coming together. I really like having a finished look on all my projects. It is the difference between it looks, you know, homemade versus you made it and it has a high-end quality look. I like projects like that here on my channel, and I hope you do too. I'm wrapping around this mesh tan ribbon I get from the Dollar Tree. Cut it down, and I would recommend when you're using this ribbon, it is very thin. You will burn yourself. So I like to use a popsicle stick on this just to bring it all together without getting burnt unnecessarily. Now I'm going to use this ticking stripe ribbon. I'm going to come around the sides, adding in the ribbon. Don't be afraid to readjust it like you see me doing here, making sure it's as straight as you possibly can. That creates an even higher end look when things look straight and tidy. I'm coming around the front of the box, adding down the ribbon, coming around the sides and the back. When I get to the back, I'm just going to cut off the extra ribbon. You could put one more half wood bead on the back to clean up that even more. That could be really beautiful back there. If you don't care about it, you could just glue down the ribbon and call it a day. You could even put a cute little button back there. It's up to whatever you want to do for your project, but glue that down into place. Now at the front of the sign, we could leave that as it is, but I decided I wanted to add a higher end looking bow versus the bow that it had on the sign. I just tied a simple bow with some Dollar Tree ribbon. I'm going to glue it down and manipulate it so that the glued bow is in a place that I want it to be. So when we pack it away on off seasons, it still looks nice and it's put away without it being destroyed. Sometimes bows get messed up when we put our decor away. And then would it be a Heidi project if we didn't finish it with a button in between the bow? I don't know, but this is the finished look. I hope you enjoy it and give it a try. So high end and so easy to make. The Dollar Tree has tons of these right now, so you can find these for $1.25. I'm going to take this sign though, and I'm going to turn it into something even cuter. We are going to first take that sign and we're going to trace it onto some fabric. I always like to clean up the back sides of my projects because that's when it looks more store purchased versus it being that you made it from the Dollar Tree, if you know what I mean. So I'm just taking some of this really cute blue and white gingham fabric that I had on hand, and I'm going to cover up that sign that's talking about Valentine's Day because this is for spring. So go ahead and glue that on all around the sides, clean it up, and if you have anything hanging over, just come back in with your scissors and trim it up so it looks nice and polished. I always like to take the time to do these things because again, they really make them look like they're store-bought and not a DIY fail. So now I'm going to just paint the back side of that sign since it was already raw. And then I'm going to come in with my heat gun and dry it real quick. Once that's all nice and dry, now we can start working on some distressing, which is really simple. I always just like to use a very little amount of paint with dry brushing, and then I just come in on the sides just to kind of make it look more farmhouse and spring. And now I'm going to take this white and orange gingham ribbon from the Dollar Tree. All of these supplies are from the Dollar Tree. And then I'm going to just do the first line, and you can see here I was trying to make sure I had my first line right, so make sure it's long enough and it's centered in the middle, and then you're going to pull it over and put a dot. Now you can see that I didn't go all the way across with a line of hot glue. We want it to feel kind of loopy and flowy, so you don't want to keep drawing lines of hot glue with it. I'm just going to simply put dots back and forth, and as we're going down, you want to taper down the carrot ribbon so that it looks like a carrot. You don't want to keep it to be the same. If you feel more comfortable, you can even get a ruler and draw some pencil lines if you don't want to freehand this, and if you're a newer crafter, that's totally a good idea too. So you make sure you're staying on the line that you want to be following so it tapers down the way you want. Now with the magic of editing, I'm going to speed it up so you can see that as I'm going down, I'm tapering down the ribbon. And you want to stay close enough to each of those layers that you're putting so you don't see too much of the white behind at different angles. And that way you can see more of the orange. So just keep in mind, keep your layers close together. When you get to the bottom, snip off the extra, pull down that last little piece, and now we're going to work on the top of the carrot. This part is so fun because your carrot starts to come to life at this point. I'm going to use some of this grass from the Dollar Tree. I just popped off a couple of those little stems, and I'm cutting them down to size. Now this purple flower, I always have the hardest time working with it unless I'm making it into like a circle and a wreath, but it has the best greenery on it that looks like carrots. So if you see these long stemmed pink and purple, I think they're white too, at the Dollar Tree, grab them if you're working with carrots because it makes the greatest little foliage on top of the carrot. So go ahead and just glue about 3 of them on there. And then once you've got them all in place and you like how they look, it's nice and full, I'm going to come back in with some twine and just add a simple little bow. I feel like adding a bow always makes everything look so farmhouse, just cute. I really love adding bows. I've never met a bow that I did not like, so I add bows to a lot of my stuff here. And if a bow's not your thing, you can skip that too. Now I'm going to add on some beads to be able to hang it up. And isn't this just the sweetest, easiest craft? I enjoyed making this so much. It took me probably about 15 minutes to make it, but it is just so fun and therapeutic to get my hands on these kind of projects. Friends, if you're new here, I would love it if you subscribe so you don't miss upcoming videos. And if you're new, returning, whichever, do give this video a thumbs up. Sometimes we have Dollar Trees where we cannot find the newest trendy stuff, and I decided to share as well for those friends who aren't always able to get a hold of everything. I want to make sure I'm being cautious and aware of you out there if you're wanting crafts and being able to still do things for the holiday. So I'm going to show you how we're going to take these 2 wire candy cane forms. I know these were pretty popular and most stores had them because these are a really old item Dollar Tree's been carrying for many years. So we're going to take 2 of them, flip one upside down, and you saw how I brought it together, and now we're going to use 5 zip ties. Now my trick with this is I don't start locking everything in really tight until I get all 5 of them on there, and then at that point I start tightening them to hold them in place, because as you're putting it on sometimes things are shifting and it just makes it easier when you keep it loose until you're ready to lock it all in super tight. Now I'm going to take a piece of drop cloth and we are going to just pull that fabric around really tight. I know the backside of this looks really terrible, but you're not even going to see it because we're going to be covering it with our mesh ribbon. I think that's what that stuff is called. Leave a comment down below to let me know if it's called something else. If I just botched that name, I'm sorry if I did. So we are going to take 2 of these greenery stems from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to glue those on first. It does make it a little complicated as you're trying to wrap around this mesh ribbon because you're having to move those things around and they are bumping it a little bit, but I promise it's better to glue them on first and then put on the mesh ribbon because you don't want to see all that yucky glue down there. It's just not a very finished look. So once you've got your yellow on first, I put that yellow on first because I just wanted to beef it up. That's just my preference. If you have a ton of orange, go for it with the orange. I used about 3 of the orange meshed ribbon, and I wish I had a 4th. I think if I had a 4th, I probably would not have used the yellow, but again, you can see that yellow will work too. So you can see here also I'm using a popsicle stick. That is because that hot glue will seep through that mesh and it will burn you. So just keep that in mind. And then I wrapped some twine around it. I came up to the top, I tied a knot, and I really did that because I just like that farmhouse look. I also feel like it's going to secure it and lock all of that mesh ribbon in place, and I think it looks pretty with the twine on it. I don't know, that's just me. You could skip that part if you don't like it. And then we added on the bunny that they have at the Dollar Tree, and we're adding on some beautiful bows. I love doubling up my bows. I just think things look more, it just looks more high-end when you put these double bows on it. I'm going to add on a beautiful peony pink flower, and I'm going to add in some of this eucalyptus, just tucking it all in and making it look so just beautiful for spring. Now on the back side, I'm going to take a Dollar Tree nautical rope, and I'm going to hot glue that on and then get some of this extra fabric that I have here sitting to the side, and I'm just going to put that right on top so it's all locked in and glued in place. For this craft, I'm going to show you how to get around something that you think is cute, but you don't necessarily like the colors. For these carrots, I think they're really cute. I love a good carrot. Obviously they're trending right now at the Dollar Tree, but I don't like the yellow. So I've decided that I'm going to paint them. I'm coming in with a darker orange, almost a burnt orange first, and I'm just going to paint all over them. And you can see that I'm going to pop them off of those stakes that they're on. And I came in with a second tone, a lighter orange, and I'm just bringing in different textures and different layers, because as I'm bringing on that lighter orange on that dark orange we painted first, it really brings forward that burlap and it looks so cool. So after I got them all dry, I removed the painter's tape from the top of the little grass pieces. I glued 3 of them together, wrapped some twine around it, tied a bow, and then I'm going to just simply add a little green button because I think that really plays up the green on the foliage of the carrot. And after that, these are so cute on a bookshelf placed in your home. I have been wanting to make this wreath for so long, and when I saw this bunny at the Dollar Tree right now for the springtime, he comes in a pink jacket with a teal bike and then a teal jacket with a pink bike. You have 2 different options. So I grabbed that sign and I was like, oh, this is it. This is the moment. We're going to make this carrot wreath that I've been wanting to make forever. So we're going to start by taking our tan ribbon and we're going to wrap it around the whole wreath form. And I believe this is a 18-inch wreath form. I think that's what it is. So I'm going to just wrap that around, making sure we have a nice finished wreath form so we don't see that wire. And then the little twine hook that was on the bunny sign, I'm going to repurpose that to hang up the wreath on the back. So I just glued it into place and I'm coming in with some of that extra ribbon to have a nice clean finished look on the back so you don't see that hot glue. I really love finishing my projects. I know I say that a lot here on my channel, but I really do. I just feel like that's when it looks like it came from a store. No one would ever know that you DIY'd it. So I'm going to now position my sign, and it is going to have a little bit of a lift, and we're going to fix that with something in a second. But we're going to get those first 2 carrots down so we know the positioning of our bunny, where it's going to go, and then where we can start building our carrots out and around. Now, because these carrots have a little bit of that angled look to them, they're thicker at the top, thinner at the bottom, they work perfect on a wreath form. You just keep gluing them in a line, going all the way around until you get to the other side. And then when you get all the way to the other side, we are now going to work on our bunny sign. Gluing these carrots on was so much fun. And I used about 7 packs of carrots. So once I got my last carrot on and in place, we're going to move back over to our bunny. And you can see here that I hot glue gunned on 2 zip ties. I used a ton of glue to make sure it was on there really well. And then I just set it over there to the side to make sure it was drying and it is going to be locked into place before we zip tie it. You want to make sure the glue's dry before you try to zip tie. So while I'm waiting, I'm just going to take some of this greenery that they have at the Dollar Tree and I'm going to fill that in behind the carrots to make it look fuller, to make it look more luxe and just high-end looking. And then once the hot glue was dry, you now can come in with that zip tie, tie it nice and tight. I will recommend try to make sure your zip tie locks are facing up so that they don't scratch your door. And after that, you have a beautiful high-end looking wreath for $12. Now this project is a little more advanced, but I promise the steps are so doable and it's so fun. It really is just that there's just more steps involved. So we're going to take some of those carrots from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to paint them the 2 different tones. Some are going to just be a brighter orange, and some gets the 2-tone with the darker orange and the lighter orange. You can see I'm dry brushing that on a little bit. And then I let those dry really well. And you can also see that I didn't want to get any paint on that foliage on the carrot, so I just wrapped some painter's tape around it. Do be aware that that is a tissue-y type paper, so when you pull it off, just pull it off slowly. Now I'm going to take 2 of these Valentine's Day signs, and I'm going to just put some hot glue on a paint stir stick, and I'm going to just put that right down. Can you see? I almost got that hot glue on my hand. I cut out the audio, but I went, whoo, that was close. When that fell, it almost got my hand. And then to reinforce it, I used my staple gun, but you don't have to do that. I just like using my staple gun. Now I'm going to take a piece of white burlap, and I'm going to cover the back up. And then on the front, I have a double piece of burlap. It's doubled up. And I'm making sure I put that spool of twine underneath it because I wanted to make sure it was enough spacing in there, because we are going to make this really cute decor piece that looks like a giant bag of carrots. So I made sure there was some spacing in there that I can tuck my carrots down into so it's not too tight. I glued on the sides of that burlap. I folded it down a little bit at the top, and now I'm going to bring around the sides, and I'm just going to tidy it up. I'm going to just glue everything down so it looks like a nice big gunny sack burlap bag. And now I'm going to make it look a little more full by stuffing in some of this batting that I have. And at this point we can start decorating our bag. These carrots have these shish kebab sticks on it, which are perfect because it lets you stake it down in there. Now you can see that I use the larger carrots and the smaller carrots. When they all come together like this, it's so cute. I was dying inside. I was so loving making this project. Now at this point, I wanted to take it up a notch, so I put in some of this Spanish moss, or this dried grass, whichever you want to call it. And I'm just going to tuck that in all around the carrots. And now I'm going to take some of that white twine, and I'm going to wrap it around about 3-4 times, and then tie a little knot. I just love the way the twine wrapped around it makes it look like it's an actual farm storage item that they wrapped tight to close it up. Now this is a fun technique. Getting a piece of drop cloth fabric and using the stickers from the Dollar Tree, you stick them on and you pounce on your paint. You tap, 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 tap. And you can see here I'm kind of cleaning up the line a little bit. When it dries and you remove the letters, friends, you just made yourself a cool sign using fabric and paint and stickers. Now I decided to rough it up quite a bit because this is going on my cute bag of carrots. I wanted to look all farmhouse. And you can see that as I was ripping it, it started going into the tea. It actually ended up turning out so great. Sometimes you have those happy accidents. We're having a Bob Ross moment, I guess, a happy little accident. And I'm going to just simply take that part that got ripped. I'm going to tuck one part underneath that folded over part of the burlap, and the other part's going to come up over the edge. It looks so cute. What a happy little accident. I was so glad it ripped the way that it did. I did panic for a hot second, and then I ended up realizing that it looked so cute tucked the way that it was. So now I'm going to take a black and white gingham ribbon, and I'm going to just glue that on and double it up. I want to have a nice thick ribbon, so I made 2 of these. Gluing that on, and then I added on a green button in the center to play up that green in the carrots. And now I'm going to come in and dry brush all over it some brown paint to make it look all weathered. And then on the back, add a rope, add some fabric to cover it up and make it nice and clean and tidy, and you've got yourself the cutest decor piece for this spring Easter season. Our supplies today are going to be these carrots from the Dollar Tree, this raffia, a wreath ring metal wire form, and some fabric that you can pick up at any of your craft supply stores. I got mine from Joann's, used a coupon, and the way I like to cut this is by making a little snip at the very top and then ripping all the way down.
Once I've gotten enough long strips, I'm now going to make them a little bit smaller. I'm going to cut them down to about 4 inches long. You can do them as long or as short as you would like, but once you've got enough of them, you're then going to start tying them onto that wire wreath form. And I think this is just such a pretty look. Now this particular wreath is called a rag wreath, and what you're doing is just tying on all of those little rag strips that you just ripped all up. And you're gonna just go all the way around until you've completed the whole thing and filled in. Once you have, you're gonna go ahead and take your carrots and you're going to place them the way you would like them to look, as if they are sitting out in the garden or in a grassy patch. And you're gonna just hot glue them on wherever you choose to put them. I really liked moving them back and forth in different directions because I felt like it made it look more natural, flowing, versus just kind of putting them all in one direction. And then to complete that farm fresh look, I'm going to take that raffia, tie a giant big bow, and then I'm going to make sure that I just kind of stretch it out into the place that I want, so that way the bow doesn't collapse, because raffia is wound really tightly in the bag. So just make sure you play with it a lot before you settle on that look, and then hot glue it all into place.
I found this darling sign at the Dollar Tree. They have some good signs this year. I'm going to take the sign and I'm going to take some twine and some of these carrots. The sign is super cute, but I really wanted to make it more whimsical and special. So I'm going to create different tiered layers of these twine strings coming down. I've got the longest in the middle. Then moving out to the second spot on the right and the left, I've got the next length. It's a little bit shorter. And then on the end, I have the shortest one. And that's because I'm going to make sure I balance the carrots and where they're lining up on the string. So the middle string is going to have 3 carrots. I have really tough fingers with heated things. Like I can work in my kitchen even without using a lot of pot holders when I'm picking up pots. Please use finger guards if that's too hot for you. But you can see here that I'm just going to put some glue on the back of a carrot. I find the side that's least appealing, and that's the side I glue to the string. The better side, I want it to be towards the front. I let it cool for about a second, and then I just swipe off the extra glue, making sure that it's locking in to the twine and the carrot, and it's all nice one piece, so it's not going to just come off really easily over time. Once I've got that first one done, I'm going to lay it down and move on to the second row, which is on the right and the left of that middle row. And this one is going to have 2 carrots. Then I move on to the last, and it's going to have only 1 carrot. And you'll see here when I start to glue it to the back of the sign, the carrots are going to fall in between the void of each other. So that first row with the 3, the 2 in the next row over, will fall in the void where there's no carrots, and the same for the very end. I'm making sure that the carrots aren't going to collide when they're dangling down, but they're going to just be all of these carrots perfectly lined up. This part's pretty easy. I just take my time. And I'm going to glue them to the back, making sure they're glued on there nice and sturdy. We don't want anything coming off. You can see here that I'm just making sure, oh, I got to pull it down a little bit because I want it to fall into that void. And then I'm going to glue it. Once I've got all of those glued on, we want to make sure we clean up the back. Again, I like to have a nice backside. Friends, I say this all the time here because it really does make a difference when you have a nice cleaned back side of your projects that you're making. Again, if it's not your thing, no big deal, but Heidi likes to do this to all her projects. So I'm going to glue that last one, and then I'm going to come in with a piece of scrapbook paper. I didn't show it, by the way, but I'm going to cut off these extra pieces of twine that are too long, trim those down, and then I'm going to add on some glue with a piece of scrapbook paper that I'm going to use to lock it all together. It's also going to help the twine from coming off, and it just cleans up that backside look. You could put a piece of fabric. You could also end up just doing a whole big piece of scrapbook paper, whatever you want to finish the backside. To complete the look, we are going to add a bow because we need a bow on this. And then I like to layer these kind of signs on a wreath. Here's how it looks layered with a wreath and these darling carrots dangling down. Wouldn't this be so adorable on a front door? This DIY is super simple. You're going to take one of these plastic Easter baskets and some carrots from the Dollar Tree. I'm also going to be using some fabric in just a bit. You're going to see that, as well as some Dollar Tree rope. I took off the handle, measured about the height of the carrots from the bottom of the basket, and now with my scissors I'm just going to cut off the extra that we don't need. Once you've got that all cut off, you're going to take some burlap fabric and you're going to just glue it onto the bottom of the basket, pulling it as tightly as you can, wrapping it all the way around. And you can see here that I put the handle back on. It has these little teeth on it that allow it to just pop right back onto the basket. Now we're going to take those carrots and we're going to just wrap them all the way around the whole basket. My inspiration for this basket actually came from the Michaels store. They had this basket at their store, and when I saw it, I knew right away I had to dupe this one. It was super expensive at their store, and we're going to make this so affordable using Dollar Tree carrots, their basket, and some rope. Once I had the carrots all the way around, I went ahead and took one of their nautical brown ropes. I untwisted it because there's 3 on each rope that are twisted together, and then I wrapped it around the handle. And then I took another one of the ropes from the Dollar Tree that's not untwisted, and I just coiled that all around on the inside, gluing it all together to make sure it had a nice finished look. Once everything was all coiled and pushed down inside, I used my scissors and cut off the extra that I didn't need and continued to coil it until it was all the way completely finished and you could no longer see the yellow basket. This was the easiest project and the results turned out so stinking cute. What do you all think? Leave a comment down below to let me know if you like it. I truly hope you felt inspired with these 17 different carrot crafts. It's amazing how you can take one simple item and make it into so many different things. I hope you get a chance to be in your craft room and try out some of these ideas. Leave a comment down below to let me know what you think of today's episode. I'm going to recommend this video right here if you missed it from the other day. And until the next episode, bye friends.